Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we will be looking at what I personally believe are guaranteed 2-mark, 3-mark, and 4-mark questions from the chapter Manufacturing Industries, and this is the 6th chapter in your geography textbook. And I personally believe that these questions will most definitely make an appearance on the upcoming CBSE Term 2 Social Science Board exam. So without any further ado, let's begin. I will share the question with you and I'll dictate the answer. So let's proceed. The first question is, define manufacturing with examples. And this is a 2-mark question. So you can start your answer like this. Manufacturing is the process in which raw materials are transformed into more useful and beneficial consumer end products, and they're produced in large quantities using industrial processes. And the examples, you can cite any examples of the objects around you, because most of the things that we use on a daily basis are manufactured. They're produced in factories. So the table that I'm sitting on and the chair that I'm sitting on, they're all manufactured. The raw material is wood or timber, and it's transformed through industrial processes to form a more useful end product, which is the chair and the table. So those are the examples. It's a simple, small, to the point question. The next question. Why is manufacturing considered the backbone of economic development? This is a 4-mark question, and this could be framed in another way. You can say, state the importance of manufacturing, and this could be a 3-mark question. So depending on the weightage, you can change the number of points and the length of your answer. For example, a 2-mark question should have anywhere between 2 to 3 points. And of course, as you all already know, in social science, science, English, and any other subject, excluding Hindi, you have to write your answer in the form of points. No paragraphs, no essays. Straight, concise points. So coming back to this question, if it's a 4-mark, then I should write anywhere between 5 to 6. 3-mark is 3 to 4 or 4 to 5. And 2-mark is 2 to 3. So why is manufacturing considered the backbone of economic development? This question can be answered with direct points from the textbook. For example, one main reason is that manufacturing assists in the modernization of agriculture. So agriculture is being developed, enhanced, and modernized through manufacturing. For example, tractors, irrigation canals, tube wells, all of these products are manufactured, and they're allowing the yields to increase because they're modern farming methods, and they're inculcating technology and advancement in the field of agriculture. And also, manufacturing is considered to be the most labor-intensive sector, meaning that it employs the largest amount of people. So up until recent times, most of India's population was employed in agriculture, and this was not synonymous in the service sector and secondary sector or manufacturing sector. But development and a spike in manufacturing in India, the dependence of agriculture for labor and employment has significantly decreased. So we're diversifying our employment. People have different outlets to work in. The second reason is that manufacturing is essential for eradicating poverty and alleviating unemployment. So if manufacturing is labor intensive, it obviously produces more jobs, employment generation, and this alleviates poverty. So less people are hungry, less people are starving, less people are living under $1.80 a day. And also, industries are usually set up in backward tribal areas. So this eliminates regional disparities. And largely decentralized manufacturing prevents localization and allows all regions of India to grow and develop. The third reason is that through manufacturing we can start exporting goods, and this will bring in much needed foreign exchange. So foreign exchange is essential for importing and exporting goods. We're only allowed to import or purchase new goods with the foreign exchange, with the US dollars. But how can we earn dollars? We can't print dollars. So we have to gain foreign exchange. When we export manufactured goods, we gain foreign exchange. And lastly, historically speaking, all countries that have developed manufacturing hubs are considered to be prosperous. So India, in the long run, should also diversify its manufacturing outputs and become prosperous and join the developed nations category. So either state the importance of manufacturing or why is manufacturing considered the backbone of economic development. The question could be asked in either way, but the points will remain constant. So fourth question, how does manufacturing contribute to Indian GDP? Is this a desirable output? What measures have been taken to enhance industrial growth in India? So this could be a 4-mark question, or it could also be appearing as a case study, because there are several sub-questions. So if you ever have a question with multiple subsets of questions inside, the best way to solve it is by answering each question in each point. Because if it's a 4-mark question, then it's highly likely that each question is worth 1 or 1.5 marks. So first we'll start by answering, how does manufacturing contribute to Indian GDP? The textbook stat states that manufacturing contributes to 27% of the GDP, where 17% is industrial production and 10% is mining, electricity, etc. What measures have been taken? Is this the desirable output? No, it's not the desirable output, because our manufacturing contribution to the GDP is relatively lower if we put ourselves aside several South and Central Asian countries. Their manufacturing is close to 25 to 30%. And what measures have been taken to enhance industrial growth? The key measure that was taken was establishing the National Manufacturing Competitiveness Council, and also policy intervention and an attempt to improve and diversify our manufacturing sector and improving the quality of the goods that are produced. So all of these measures have been taken. So if you answer all 3 of these questions in separate points, you're guaranteed to get 4 out of 4. Next question, what factors influence industrial location? This is a simple 2-mark question, so we don't have to go into detail, we don't need to dwell on the topic. We can just simply state the factors. So the factors that influence industrial location are land, labor, capital, power, government policies, availability of water, market, and urban centers. Question number 7. What are agglomeration economies? This is also a simple 2-mark question, so we can state the definition. Agglomeration economies form when several industries and corporations come together in one single urban city. So essentially, some cities like Hyderabad, Kolkata, Mumbai, they're all known as agglomeration economies. And Mumbai, Kolkata, and Chennai were early agglomeration economies because of their proximity to the coast, manufacturing capabilities, and availability of raw material. So these were developed and established as agglomeration economies, and several corporations and companies, not only from India but also from the British, they set up their factory in these cities specifically because they provided a wide array of facilities. And those are agglomeration economies. Question number 8. What factors led to Mumbai, Kolkata, and Chennai becoming the early industrial centers? So we briefly touched on this earlier. Mumbai, Kolkata, and Chennai in the early 20th century were the port cities of India, and these ports were built and constructed before Indian independence. In fact, they were constructed by the British colonies. So one key factor was the coast, availability of raw material, urban facilities, and most importantly, a market. Most urban areas give an opportunity for markets because obviously the demand for manufactured products is relatively lower in rural areas, probably because of less penetration of these companies and general unawareness and a tendency to use indigenously produced goods. So these factors, which are proximity to the coast, raw material, and a dense transport network, especially since the first railway was constructed in Mumbai in 1853. Kolkata and Chennai were port areas. So all of these factors were taken into account, and they became the early industrial hubs or centers of India. Question number 9. How do urbanization and industrialization go hand in hand? So when industrialization takes place, urbanization follows. Be sure to start your answer with that exact statement. When industrialization takes place, urbanization follows. But why? Because, as I mentioned earlier, urban cities have a wide array of facilities, and these are incentives for corporations to establish and set up factories. They have a market, they have a dense network of transport, they have several customers readily available, there's raw material, and so any industry tries to go to an urban center because all of the requirements and factors that influence industrial location, such as the availability of land, capital, labor, power, and government incentives, these are all present in urban centers. And also one key deciding factor that allows urban cities to up the ante or get the edge over rural areas are the availability of certain services such as insurance, banking, transport, and customers, most importantly retail stores. All of these are widely spread out in urban pockets. So that's why industrialization always takes place in an urban city. But how does urbanization be impacted by industrialization? Whenever we set up a factory, the first thing that needs to take place is development of a rail network or a dense form of transport. And after that, it's a retail. We have to start setting up markets for consumers to visit and purchase goods. And that leads to the creation of banks and insurance, loan facilities. So when an industry is set up, it can have a wide range of, it sets off a chain reaction to allow cities to grow and develop. Hyderabad was not considered as an urban city until very recently when the IT industry was set up. So the second this industry was established in Hyderabad, urbanization followed. So that's how industrialization and urbanization go hand in hand. Why are urban cities ideal spots for industries? This is similar to the last question. How can industries be classified? So now we're moving on to the next subtopic, which is types of industries. So industries can be broadly classified on the basis of raw material, basis of types of goods being produced, type of investment, type of capital investment, based on the type of ownership, and finally, based on the bulk and weight of the raw materials. So now we get a bunch of sub-questions. What are the types of industries on the basis of raw material? So we have agro-based industries and mineral-based industries. In agro-based industries, the raw material is produced agriculturally. So food processing, sugarcane industry, cotton industry, textiles industries, all of these are agro-based industries. And in mineral industries, the raw materials are derived from under the earth. So iron and steel plants, aluminum smelting, all of these are mineral-based industries. What are the types of industries on the basis of goods being produced? So there's basic or key industries and consumer industries. So key industries produce a raw material for another corporation. For example, iron and steel plants, they're producing the raw material steel, which is used by infrastructure companies such as L&T Metros, Larsen and Toubro. And so these companies don't produce a final end product for consumers. They're merely producing a raw material for another industry. And consumer industries produce all of the goods that we see around us today. Books, pencils, water bottles, chairs, desks, laptops, phones. All of these are end user goods. So they're called consumer industries. What are the types of industries on the basis of capital investment? So capital investment is essentially the money that we invest on a corporation, and with the goal to reap profits on top of the investment in the future. So capital investment can take form as either fixed capital or working capital. So fixed capital is usually infrastructural investment. So when, for example, a factory invests on construction of a building, the equipment inside, and working capital is essentially the cash flow that we have in our hand. So for example, if we have to purchase raw material, that requires working capital. It's not permanent, it's temporary. That's why it's called working capital. So the figure changes, but currently any company that invests less than 7 crores is known as a small scale industry, and any company that invests more than 7 crores is known as a large scale industry. Question number 15. What are the types of industries on the basis of ownership? So who owns the assets? Who reaps the profits? This can be determined based on the ownership. So there's public sector undertakings or public corporations. In this case, the government owns and manages all of the industrial processes. Next, we have private sector undertakings or private companies. And in this case, a group of individuals or a single individual owns and operates the manufacturing. Then we also have joint sector ventures. And in this case, it's also known as a public-private partnership. So the government and private individuals jointly take an initiative to establish an industry. And lastly, we have cooperative sector. And cooperative sector is very essential, particularly in the sugar industry. And we'll look at that soon. But essentially, cooperative sector is owned and managed by the producer of the raw material. So for example, if I produced wheat as a raw material and I also run the wheat processing factory, then I would be the owner of a cooperative sector enterprise. So you can write this answer in short, concise points, and be sure to cite a few examples as well. So that concludes this video. In this video, we talked about 15 2, 3 mark, and 4 mark guaranteed questions from the chapter Manufacturing Industries. And by the end of this series, I'll have at least 50 questions ready for you guys, the audience. And I hope you enjoyed this new style of videos. And let me know if you enjoyed this and look forward to more of these question-based videos. It's always a good option to stick with reverse engineering, when instead of just reading the textbook daily, you can come back from the other way. You can start by framing your own questions. I didn't find these from any online source. I read the textbook and formulated these questions on my own, based on my prior understanding of how the CBSE frames questions, based on the layout of the textbook, and based on what I personally feel are very important topics. So if you notice throughout the video, all the questions have been going in the sequence of the textbook. We started with definition of manufacturing, importance of manufacturing, factors influencing industrial location, classification of industries, and then we'll go on to looking at each type of industry in depth. So that follows the sequence of the textbook exactly. And I assure you that these aren't copied from any website or any sort of resource hub anywhere. I formulated these questions on my own, and the answers are also spontaneous, based on the textbook. So in any board exam, the textbook is your best friend. So at the end of the day, stick with your textbook and read it thoroughly. That's my word of advice to you guys. And until the next video, it's Initial Tube signing off. Peace.